Hi, I'm Jan Kapanides with Stratos Consulting, and today I'll be walking through the custom workforce planning module that we've developed and implemented for our clients using Oracle EPM Cloud. Kick things off with a quick agenda for this video. First, I'll be going through an overview of some of the key differences between Oracle's out-of-the-box workforce planning capabilities versus our custom-built module. And then we'll take a look at some of the architecture that's in place, along with some of the custom dimensionality that we've added. And then we'll wrap up with going into SmartView, taking a look at some of the data forms, and then taking a look at how some of the reporting capabilities are possible in this application. So in general, customization and flexibility are typically what users and financial planners look for when it comes to workforce planning. The out-of-the-box workforce planning module is fairly rigid in that it's more of a one-size-fits-all solution rather than a tailor-made solution that's best fit to the needs of each business. The out-of-the-box solution involves manipulating and clicking through several windows to conduct even the simplest of tasks, which can really become quite cumbersome if you're dealing with a time crunch or if forecast changes need to be made on the fly. Our custom workforce module allows the user to stay within the Excel interface to conduct all planning activities rather than moving between the multiple windows like I was just referring to. This solution streamlines the planning process significantly and provides more visibility into where costs are being incurred down as granular as the individual employee level. So as far as cubes in this application, we've created a custom BSO cube right here called the Workforce Cube, which is where all planning activities are going to be conducted for your existing employees and your new hires. Any changes that are made in the Workforce Cube will automatically be reflected in the Financial Cube. So any workforce changes will be reflected downstream in your P&L. FinPlan here is just representing your financial statements. And as far as dimensionality, there is a dimension within the workforce cube that's only unique to this cube, and it's the employee dimension. Within the employee dimension, you have your roll up for total employees. And then within that, you see the breakdown between new employees and your existing employees. For new employees, these are just going to have a generic name. So in this case, it's TBH123 or your hiring Rex 123. This is just going to represent your open positions that exist in the system. And as far as your existing employees, these are going to come from your workforce source system, so like an ADP or a Workday, and they're going to come with their existing employee number. So in this case, we have employee 51, 53, 54. The list goes on. So now just going into SmartView to take a look at some of the forms and how those work. So before I get into the specifics of how each form works, I just want to talk briefly about the two types of forms that you'll see in this module. The first type being assumptions forms, which is what you're looking at here. Assumptions forms are really going to store all your drivers and rates that are used to calculate your compensation items down the line. So think about things like 401k rates, tax rates. These are all going to be stored here. So for this application, there's a rate of 4% for your 401k. These values here are going to remain fairly constant throughout the fiscal year and are going to apply to all employees that you have active in the system. So other examples being if you have a flat rate for vision insurance that's applied to every employee, that's going to be stored on this form. Same idea for dental insurance. You also have the ability to adjust the merit month based off of if something in the company changes. This is just telling you when merit is applied. You also have the ability to zero out merit like you see here. So if, for example, in the current year, if employees are already merit applied in your source system, you have the ability to zero out, so you're not double counting. And you also have the ability to adjust for the outer years as well. Next form I want to talk about is pay periods. This can differ from company to company, but in this case, it's just determining the cadence with which pay is distributed within a given month. This can also be something like working days per month or working hours. It's just determining, like I said before, the schedule with which pay is distributed for each employee. Next form I want to highlight is this headcount review form. This is going to give you pretty much a high-level overview of how your company heads are distributed. And this is going to be broken out by your new employees and your existing employees. So for example, we're looking at headcount by cost center here. You see you have essentially one headcount here for your new employees, and you have about 14 for your existing employees. This just allows you to or provides insight into which functional areas or cost centers may be over or understaffed. Now getting into your existing employees form, this is a review existing employees form by cost center. So like I said before, all your existing employees will come with their employee number from your source system, be that an ADP or a Workday, and you're able to see all your existing employees by cost center on this form. Now, one unique thing about this form is it's set with suppression on, which means it's only showing the rows that are valid for this cost center. So it won't show you any empty rows. It's only going to show rows with data. So just to talk about some of the specifics here, you have your employee properties that are coming from your source. So job title, start date, end date, if applicable, if it's a temporary hire. You have your salary that's coming in from your source, and you have the ability to put any comments here if you want to identify your intersection somehow, and then a bonus rate. Now, with all these properties, you have your total compensation that's calculated down the line. So your total compensation is just going to represent the total number of expense or the total value of all the workforce expenses for that individual employee. And you have the ability to drill into this value or this account to see how that number is made up. So within total compensation, you have roll-ups for salary, bonus, taxes, 401k, and this can all be customized based off the needs of the business. So taxes here, we have Medicare, unemployment, Social Security, and within salary, you have the breakdown of salary and merit if applicable. So with this existing employees form, you also have the ability to change employee properties. So if there's something that you want to plan for that isn't currently reflected in your source, you have the ability to change the properties here. So for example, if I know that this employee number 54, this manager that started on February 1st, is getting a salary bump, I can make that adjustment here. So say he's getting a $50,000 raise, I can change that to 300,000. And then once I click submit, you'll see the values change downstream. So for your current year, all the way to the end of your LRP, which in this case is FY26. So submit data, the calculate compensation rule is going to run in the back end, which recalculates all these values here you see from column T onward. And it's going to take your values from your yearly assumptions form and calculate based off the new salary on the columns to the right. So the next form I want to talk about is your new hires form. So while existing employee information is going to be loaded directly from your workforce source system, planners are going to have the ability to initiate new hires by using this new hires form. So for example, if I wanted to automatically add 3 employees, it's just a matter of adding a job title, start date, salary, bonus rate, and those employees are now considered headcount in your planning system, and you have the ability to forecast for those expenses, given that they don't currently exist yet in your source. So for example, if I'm hiring a bunch of analysts, it's as simple as copy and pasting. Let's say they have the same salary here. Let's say I want to add 6 of them, all with this bonus rate. It's as simple as copy and pasting, and now you have 5 new headcount that are added to this cost center once I hit submit data. And now, for example, let's say I want to backfill a position. So if I want to backfill a manager position with an already existing employee, I can put in their existing employee number, add in their start date, their salary, and put in a comment if I want. And then same idea, submit data. And that employee is now calculated as part of that cost center. And now let's say, for example, this cost center is shutting down and I want to now zero out the values past the current year. So if I know this cost center is shutting down at the end of FY22, I can put an end date. Let's just call it December 22. And it's submit data. And all the values past FY23 will be zeroed out. So shutting down a cost center happens fairly quickly. I can add 5 headcount to this cost center within a few seconds, and it just makes the addition and deletion of new heads for a given cost center fairly easy. And now as far as reporting, this is just a sample retrieve of all your compensation items by cost center. So you're able to see which cost centers might be getting more understaffed or overstaffed. With this view, you have the ability to go as granular as you want. You can pivot employees to the columns or to the rows and see the breakdown of how new hires and existing employees are divided between each cost center. So you can see if there are some over or underweights within your different compensation items. So that's all I had as far as workforce planning. I hope you guys found this very helpful, and thank you for your time. Thanks.